Hello, everybody. Jono here. I am super excited because we have an absolute expert with us this week, all the way from the other side of the world. I don't think you could get any further away from where she is. It's the day before over there. I don't know if it's AM or PM, but a little bit about this person. She is an absolute rock star when it comes to copywriting, especially if you want to launch your program. Her tagline is that she can help you rocket launch your offer with copy that sells. So without further ado, let me introduce the one and only Ms. Kristen Ladas from Copy by Kristen. Kristen, how are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
Yes, I'm amazing too. Kristen, I like to start all my podcasts off with a quote or mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for us?
I've got one. It's selling is serving.
Selling is serving?
Selling is serving.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so important to sell to people because it doesn't mean that you're greedy and you want money. It's just because you want to serve others, right? It's all about like providing people with the education, especially with info products. And I know you talk to a lot of course creators, so it's so important to keep in mind that you're trying to help other people. That's the ultimate goal, and your mission is to impact many people and to help them and serve them. It's not really a selfish thing. So that's why I like that.
Yes, I love it too. My favorite thing in the world to do is sell. I actually prefer selling than teaching. Now,
Oh yeah.
this could be a bit controversial, but the reason why I like it, and I'm biased because I like selling, I almost feel like the sale is the more important part because I can have the best product in the world, but if
Mhm.
I can't motivate or influence anyone to buy that product, I'm not going to help them. And
Exactly.
however, on the flip side, if there's someone that was hesitant, there's a program that's perfect for them, but they're hesitant because they've been ripped off before, or they don't trust themselves, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
I feel like as a seller, my job is to motivate, inspire, and influence that person to make that decision to buy that product, and then the product changes their life. I feel that's the more important and almost the harder bit, because if someone's already sold, like, what did you really do? They just went on the website and bought, and they would have done it on their own anyway, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like there's a really, I think it's super important. So I'm glad you've said that. So,
Mhm.
Kristen, I'd love to hear a little bit about you. I've only connected with you on Instagram the last couple of weeks. So, apart from you being Greek and knowing how to optimize, I don't really know, and knowing how to sell like crazy via email, I don't really know too much more about you. So, I was hoping you could tell me and your audience a little bit about how you got into the copywriting side of things. I'm sure you didn't just, graduate high school and be like, hey, I want to be a copywriter. So, it's not one of those jobs like a lawyer or a dentist or a football player. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Kristen. Start where you want to start and let us know how
Yeah.
you got into copyright.
Yeah. I guess I'll just take it back to like childhood. I was always like a creative person, and I always loved writing anyhow. And I think I knew from a young age I wanted to get into writing as a profession, but I would always get sidetracked, I guess, by other people saying, no, you should become a lawyer, become a doctor, or do this or do that. Like writing's not going to get you anywhere. So I kind of put that idea to the side for a long time. And when I got into high school, I was like, ooh, you know what? I'm going to write for the school newspaper. And then I decided I wanted to get into journalism. So it's all about, I want to become a news reporter, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become the anchor, and I'm going to tell people stories, and I'm going to get out there. And, somehow that just changed when I was applying to university and I was looking for journalism programs, but I stumbled upon the University of Toronto, and they had a professional writing and communications program mixed with technology and web design and all of this. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I decided to apply there, ended up getting in. It's convenient because it's close to home for me too. And yeah, so I ended up getting into that program. The interesting thing though is that they did not have a copywriting course. So I did not learn copywriting in university. It was just a bunch of other writing courses. So like writing for finance, for like just like a bunch of other things, is other journalistic stuff, all that. But the other cool thing is I became an author while I was in university. Yeah, so that was fun. We had
Give your book a shout out. What's the title of your book?
It's called Behind Blue Eyes. Yeah,
What's
just
it
a short
about?
collection of stories about my life and the people that changed me. It's a nice little warm, fuzzy kind of book. Just, it's really about me. It is like, so you'll get to realize like everything about me and who's changed me and molded me into the person I am today, how I was like bullied, how I got like anxiety. It was just like a bunch of stuff. Um, but yeah, so I did that. I didn't know about copywriting until my fourth year of university. I had no idea what that was. I didn't know you could make money doing that stuff. I was so busy worrying about getting the corporate job. And after university, I landed a job at a bank, which was like just playing with numbers. It's completely not my thing, which
Yeah, I
is
was going to say, it
really
sounds right up
depressing.
your alley, the creative writing person in the job in the bank.
Yeah, it was just weird because I was having all these interviews at big PR firms, media companies, communications, but every interview I got, I felt really good about. I was excited. I think I nailed every one of them. I didn't get a single job. And I was like, is there something wrong with me or is there something wrong with them? Why am I not getting any of these jobs? It was actually like very depressing. I got like really sad at one point. I'm like, why am I not getting my dream job? Something's wrong. So a year after I was working at the bank, my contract ended, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take that side gig. I started Copy by Kristen as a side gig while I was at the bank because I wanted to obviously keep my creativity going. So I would write in the evenings and on the weekends and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder what would happen if I took Copy by Kristen full time. So I learned more about copywriting and how it's more for advertising, how you can help people make money with words. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I could see myself doing that. So I studied it more on my own. I did online courses. I read a bunch of books about it. And I'm just like, I'm going to fully dive into this with no other plan and just see what happens. And it was a struggle for a long time, I have to say, like financially, but this year's been really, really good. And things are starting to move forward much faster. And I can really see the progress. And I've just had such a fun time. I write for online coaches. So no one in particular, but just online coaches in general. And I just do basically their sales pages, email sequences, ads, websites, all that fun stuff. And I'm just like absolutely loving it. I learn every day. And yeah, so that's kind of how I came to where I am now.
Yes, I love that, especially the part about the book. I'm going to buy it straight away because I feel guilty. I'm like, you've given me time with the podcast. I'll repay the favor by buying the book. But in saying that,
Oh,
it probably would have been better if I purchased that book before this interview, right? I actually would have known a thing or two about you.
oh, that's okay. Not a lot of people know about it unless you go deep into my Instagram to find the picture of it. I'll send you a signed copy.
Oh, thank you. And I'll put the link in the notes as well. So
Oh,
if
thank
any of the
you.
listeners or viewers are interested, they can grab a copy as well. So, all right. So I've got a few questions right off the bat off there, Kristen.
Sure.
So number one, you were always a writer. You were always writing for the school newspaper. You studied at university. Now I'm curious, the difference between that and copywriting. I'm guessing there's a lot of stuff there's the same, and there's obviously a lot of stuff that's worlds apart as well. I was hoping you could break that down for anyone listening or watching to this, because a few things they may be like, well, hold on, why have I got to learn copywriting? I've gone out and done a degree, or I've written a book, or whatever it may be. I don't need to learn copywriting. And then on the flip side, there may be someone that's like, well, I'm never going to be a copywriter. I sucked at English at high school. So let us know, what are the similarities, what are the differences between, let's say, traditional writing and copywriting?
Copywriting is essentially writing to sell, writing to persuade someone to purchase something like a product or service. That is literally the only thing it's supposed to do. And then anything that's considered content is stuff to like entertain you, maybe just educate you, things like blogs and articles. Those are not really considered like hardcore sales copy, but that's just the main difference. It's just like one's strictly for selling and it's done like a way that has like formulas, there's sales psychology behind it, buying behaviors, like it's pretty intense. And then the other side's just more just knowledge based stuff, just to learn things. And that's all we do on the internet is just Google stuff. And that's more like content. But if you land, or let's say you get emails from somebody and they're trying to sell you, that's copy right there. They probably hired somebody to write to persuade you to buy their new program or their new course. So that's what the difference is.
Yes. What about the similarities? Did it help you having that writing background? Did that make it easier for you to write copy, or are they worlds apart?
No, I think like even just developing your craft as a writer, just in general, I think really helps. I've noticed that my writing got much better over the years because it's now something that I do every single day. And when I was doing more like content writing for social media and for like blog posts and stuff for businesses, it was really good, like research wise. Like it really helped me get good at research and knowing who I'm writing for, because each business has their own ideal customer, right? So you have to kind of get in their head. What do they want to know? What kind of language does that person use? And those things like that do intertwine with copywriting, because you have to know who exactly you're writing to. Has to speak directly to one person, right? So there is that similarity as well. I would say a big like difference between them though is like the content is longer, whereas like copy's much shorter and more succinct. And there's like one goal with it, whereas the content, it could be in a different space and it could be longer and there's a lot going on. Yeah, so that would be the difference and similarities.
Yes, good breakdown. Now, further question there. You mentioned a lot of the time you would just write and get it out there. So let's say someone's watching this. So a good tip would obviously be do something. Even if it sucks at the start, you can build from that. You write a Facebook post. Okay, no one likes it. All right, let me make it better. Okay, now this post, a whole heap of people liked it. What did I put in there that was, funny or engaging or valuable? Now, if someone's even maybe scared to post at that level yet, what's your opinion on journaling, Kristen? Is that a good start even before that?
Yeah, I would say journaling's fine. Like any time or activity you could find to write. Like I started journaling a long time ago, and I would like write every single night. And even in my own journal, I found that I was going deeper into my thoughts, and I was writing more storylines, I guess, and about people. So it got even better over time. So yeah, I would say like you could definitely start with journaling. I would say the biggest thing, like start with blog posts, even something that you really like. Like let's say you love the fitness niche and you love personal training and stuff, or you want to help people get healthier. Just start like a health blog, health and fitness, right? Give them exercises to do, like diet stuff, I don't know, whatever, right? That works for you. And a lot of people start out with blogging, and you can make some pretty good cash just by writing blogs. So if somebody wanted to start, I would say like start there. And you could just start with anything really. So that would help.
Yes, love that. My next question, you mentioned you went all out into copy. You read the books, you did the courses, you probably read some blogs. Now, I usually leave this question till the end. That's usually my last question. But since you brought it up there, I'm curious. Let's start with books. I'm a huge reader myself. What are your favorite copy books? Or for any of my listeners, what do you recommend? What sort of books what specific books do you recommend they should read?
Yeah, definitely. The Copywriter's Handbook by Robert Bly. That was the first one that I read. That's like very classic, like a classic type of copywriting book that was written like in the 1900s. Like we're going way back to the beginning of copywriting. So even those foundations that were built then and those formulas, they still apply today. So even though you think maybe it's outdated, it's not actually outdated. This is stuff that people still use, and it just 100% works every time, because buying decisions have not really changed that much, because people still have the same buying behaviors. They still think the same way when they look at like prices and stuff and the way you like present something. So ideally, there's nothing like new. Everything's already out there.
Yeah.
So
I find the strategies, the mindset, the psychology, that's all the same. It's just the tactics have changed. Instead of printing out a physical letter, it's now an email or a landing.
Yeah, that's it. That's literally all it is. And then the conversations kind of change, where it's more conversational now because everything's digital and people are not as professional. It's more like informal language that we use now to capture people. Like depends on your audience too. But so yeah, that book is a really good one. The next one is Copy That Sells by Ray Edwards. He's
book.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a good one. I love it. So, and I love it because he uses the pastor formula for his sales pages. And I use that too with mine. And I just love it. I preach it. I preach that formula so hard because it works every time.
And it's easy, right? It works.
It's easy.
Could give that to any idiot, So I'm glad you said it, because someone could read that book and then they don't need to hire a copywriter anymore, And that's another,
Yeah,
I'm exaggerating a bit there, but it's almost at that level, right? Where it's just like, that's the book
yeah,
my life with copy, because before that it was so complicated. Oh my God, how am I going to write copy? Where am I going to start? It's so stressful. But now I just write on a piece of paper, Pastor. Okay, what's the P? Okay, what's the A? Okay, what's this?
yeah, yeah.
So
It's
much
it's
easier.
very easy after you kind of get into the flow of things and then you realize the little like details in between. But honestly, it's not really that difficult. You just use the formula mixed with all the market research you have, and you've got your sales page right there. Like it's not that difficult. The only thing is like people just don't like writing, and that's why they hire copywriters, or they just don't have the time. Like they know how to do it, but they don't have the time, and that's why they hire us.
And
Um,
I'll just jump the slide in there a little bit, then let you continue on, because I think you brought up a really good point there as well.
yeah,
And I'll get your feedback on this. I
yeah,
feel, and let me think of how to explain this, but essentially I feel like copywriting is only going to be as good as you know your target market. So let's say, for example, Kristen, you're probably one of the best copywriters in the world, right? Let's say I was like, hey, Kristen, go and write my copy. If I can't tell, if you're going to ask me some, all right, well, Jono, who's your ideal client? What are their problems? What are their struggles? What do they want? You know, if I can't if I don't know that to start with, and I can't articulate to you, you can't do crap with that copy. Yeah, you might do a better job than what I would have, but it's only going to go so far. So I think you agree with that. What's your take on that?
100% agree, and I wouldn't work with you if
Yeah,
you
there
said
you
that
go.
to me on our call.
Yeah,
I said, well, you better go back and do your market research, get a hold of your offer. Just if you can't tell me details about anything, then we're going to have a big problem because you're not going to like anything I write for you. That's what it comes down to.
yeah, 100%. You're not a mind reader. It's like their part is okay. You do the research, you get this client inside out, and then I will jazz that up and make it look amazing. But you need that part.
Exactly.
So anyway,
Exactly.
tangent. Sorry, continue on. Any other books you recommend there?
Um, and on advertising,
Yep.
I'll go, oh my God, I'll go be, I can't even pronounce his name. Oh my God.
Oh,
OGILBY.
Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah. He has a great book on advertising that I really love. So anything essentially that has to do with persuasion writing, advertising, any of those books, they're all amazing and they're going to help you write better copy essentially. And anything on sales psychology and buying behaviors, those are pivotal to writing. That's all it is. You can be like a crap writer, but you can improve. That's not the point of being a crap writer. You can improve on your writing. And as long as you know the background and like the formulas and how to do everything, and you can get sales out of it. You can DIY it yourself. It's possible, you know? So I don't want people to think that like, oh my God, it seems too out there. Like I can't do it. It's possible. And there's so much good money in copywriting that people don't even realize. So, and I love making that point too. It's like, even as like a contractor, like you can charge what you want because you can tell people the value they're getting out of it. If you're paying $5,000 for a sales page, that sales page could get you like $50,000, $100,000. So it's honestly the value you're getting out of it. Don't think of it as like a cost. It's an investment,
Yes,
right?
100%. Love that. And I love that you said that. I interviewed a gentleman a couple of days ago, Nigerian gentleman, and he started copywriting on Fiverr or Upwork or something like that.
Hmm.
And he was charging, $10 or something. And then he got a review that was like, hey, your copy was so good. I made $6,000 from from those emails that you wrote me. And he's
See?
like, yeah, and he did the math and he's like, hold on, she paid me $10 and she made $6,000. I should be charging my rate. So it is one of those things. I'm going to say, in terms of the online course space, I'm going to say copywriting is the most important skill. I think
Yeah.
there's different strategies, right? Maybe you're selling off a webinar and then you might say, okay, the webinar is more important. Maybe you're selling off a consult call and you might say, all right, then it's maybe, better to be, better with your words or your auditory skills and your phone sales. But you're saying that I feel like copy is a lot more scalable. You get good at copy, it's like, cool, here's my landing page that's going to sell. Here's my Facebook ad that's going to sell. Here's my email that's going to sell. Here's all of them that are going to sell without me even picking up the phone or doing a webinar, because the copy on the Facebook ad is going to look good. that person's going to click on that Facebook ad. They're going to enter their details on the landing page because it looks good. And then they're going to get 3 or 4 follow-up emails that look good. So they're going to click on the link in there, and then the sales page looks good. So I think in terms of scalability, I think copy is probably the most important. But let's get into the nuts and bolts now. So let's say someone's watching this and they're a course creator. They've got we know a few different ways. What do you want to start with? Copy on social media, or copy on emails, or copy on sales pages? Where do you want to? Maybe social media, because it's probably the first.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Cool. So let's say, for example, someone's got an online course and they're not selling it, right? Or they've sold 1 or 2 to their current audience and they don't know where to go. And they've heard that social media is a good place to get clients and make sales. What copy tips can you give them there, social media wise?
Yeah, there's 2 copy tips that I really like, or like formulas, I should say. So the first one is the 4 Ps. So let's say you're writing a post and you're trying to sell your new course. The first P is picture. So that's all about visualization. So make sure that you can paint a picture of like, oh, what do you really want out of this, right? Like, what's the outcome? What's the dream kind of thing? Paint that picture for them. Use even sensory words with that as well, right? So if they want like, or do you see yourself like opening up your bank account one day and seeing $100,000 in there? Or can you see yourself like opening the door to your $1 million mansion or something like that, or whatever, right? And then you have to go with the next one, which is the promise. So that's the thing that you're promising, right? You want to give them like some sort of guarantee that I'm going to get that for you. I'm going to make sure that this happens, and that's the outcome that you're going to get. And then the third one is proof. So that's anything like testimonials you have, any other social proof. That's probably like the biggest thing that people miss sometimes, is they don't use any social proof. And then people are going to ask me like, what if I don't have social proof? I've never worked with anyone before. No one's bought my product. You are your first testimonial. Clearly you've used it and it's worked for you. So tell your story about how that worked for you, right? So that would be the third one. And then the fourth is the push. So that's your call to action, right? You want to get them to make the purchase, right? So you have to make it worth their while, but it's not really selling at the very end. You kind of have to sell them throughout the whole post, right? For like, painting that picture for them, to making that big promise, and then showing the social proof that, hell yeah, this works. Why wouldn't it work for you? If you fall into these categories, right? And then all you have to make them do is give them something to do. So either it's like, click the link in my bio to register, drop a comment, or whatever that CTA may be, right? So that's one that I like using. And then the other one is IDA, which is a very popular one. A lot of people know about.
I think I've seen that in a movie. Is that in there? That's that one.
Yeah.
Right? What is it? The ID?
AIDA.
A.
Yeah. So yeah, that's attraction or attention, interest, desire, and then action. So it's kind of similar to the 4 Ps. So the attention would be like, I would say that's mostly your headlines. So that really has to attract the attention of somebody to continue reading. And it can also hold a promise as well. Like, what are you giving them? Right. So that usually means like, like X equals X, we'll get these results from doing this, or whatever that may be. And then you have to build up like the interest. What is so interesting about this offer? Why should I pay attention to it? Why does it apply to me? That's like kind of pinpointing the person's problems, and then saying, hey, we can help you get out of that place you're in. Maybe you're stuck here. We'll get you here. You didn't know this knowledge before. Go and take this course and apply it, and you'll be here. And then the next one is desires. So what do they like truly desire? What do your ideal clients really want, right? You can ask them. So like, what do they truly want out of life? Not out of life, but I guess just out of like the course you're selling.
What's the problem you're solving?
What's the outcome? Yeah, like what's the solution there? And then A, of course, is action. So again, like the CTA, the call to action. Yeah. Those are pretty simple ones.
Love it. And I love those two. And also I feel they fit in with the paster as well, where they're just slight differences, right? It's like essentially different ways of crafting the same thing, which is good because you just use Paster the one time, you're probably going to get bored. Your audience is going to get bored. But if you can put these little tweaks on things, so let's break these down a little more. So the first one was the 4 Ps, which was picture, promise, proof, and push. Now I love that picture side of things because I'm a visual guy. You know, if someone said, someone types something, hey, imagine you had this, that gets me actually thinking in there, and it gets me in a different stage. You know, it gets my imagination working. So I love that. The promise, which is essentially great. He's, you know, keep reading, and I promise by the end of this post you'll learn this, or you'll get, you know, exactly what you need to do this, or whatever it may be. The proof, the testimonial. Now that's a good point you've brought up there. So, because I think a few things you've mentioned, hey, you know, no one's worked with me before. And you mentioned, well, hey, you're your own testimonial. I think that's powerful in many different ways here, because I feel if you don't have any testimonials and you haven't done it yourself, you're almost a fraud, right? And I think you see a bit of that on social media. Someone goes out and does a Facebook ads course. They've never written a Facebook ad in their life, but now all of a sudden they're a Facebook ads coach because they did one course, you know? So, and I don't like that. So I love how you've mentioned there, hey, you know, get some, have some testimonials. If you don't have any yet, use your own story, because it's obviously working for yourself, which is why you're selling it. And I think you could go one further as well. Hey, help a couple people out for free. You may not even need to give them your full course, because what I found is a lot of the time anyway, you give someone a course for free, they don't even open it because they don't value it, right? But it may be a matter of, hey, you know, Kristen's a copywriter. She might jump on a call and do a 60-minute or a 30-minute copywriting session with 2 or 3 people. Hey, did you like that session? Give me a review. Bang. Someone else is a Facebook ad strategist. Hey, I'm going to give 10 people a free Facebook ad review. You block out one day, you know, and just review 10 different people's things. You might get 3, 4, 5, 10 different testimonials from there, and then you can start selling there. So I think it's, you know, that's my recommendation. If you're starting off anyway, hey, help some people out for free, because it's like a standoff otherwise. It's like, what the hell else are you doing with your time, right? You don't have any clients, so you can't exactly...
Or like beta testing too, when they offer their course for like half off just for them to try it out. Or like they do like the drip content, like, oh, like tell me like, what did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? So when I actually sell it, I can change those things for everybody else who's buying it after at full price kind of thing. So I like when people do beta testing.
Yes. Yeah. I do as well, because I go and buy it, you know, and get it for half the price. And the push, yes. So I think important, always got to have a call to action. And I used to yada over this. And then I found the cart that I use for one of my businesses is Samcart. Are you familiar with Samcart at all, Kristen?
I haven't used it, no.
Okay. Well, essentially, there's a place to enter a coupon code, right?
Okay.
And you enter your coupon code, and then you hit apply code, and then you get the discount, right?
Right.
The amount of people that would just enter the code in, but not hit apply code, and then hit me up and be like, hey, you gave me a coupon code that didn't work. And I'm like, okay, but did you press apply code? They're like, no, I just entered it in. And I was like, wow, okay. So some people, but this is why the call to action's there. Like, it's not like it's just, they know, okay, I've got to click that button or click, you know, sometimes and people are different. Obviously, if you're quite good on technology, you know, that sort of stuff. But if you're not, you really need to say, you know, hey, comment below if you want to learn more. Hey, click the link in my bio if you want to learn more. Hey, click the button below to learn more, because otherwise a lot of people just won't do it. You know, like you and me, okay, we're pretty good online. I'll go to your Instagram and hit the link in your bio and see what you do, but not everyone's going to do that. So I think the push is important there. Now, the AIDA. So I like that, because that starts with attention, which is sort of different to the picture. You know, I like the picture because you're painting a picture there. You can get people's imaginations involved. The attention I like, because that grabs me as well. If you can be like, you know, how to sell 100 courses in 7 days without Facebook ads. I'm reading that, you know, whether that's true or not. Yeah, 100%, you know. And there's, do you know Jim Edwards at all? Do you know who he is?
Yeah, Jim Edwards.
Have you read his book?
I ordered it. I haven't got it yet, but I did order it. I'm in his Facebook group.
Yeah, me too. So his book is really good as well, and he breaks down headlines quite well like that. So if you listen to this, grab Jim Edwards' book. But I love that because that headline, they're just different ways to get people's, like the picture is a good way to get people thinking. That
Yeah.
headline is another way there as well. And
Yes.
the interest, I mean, you're probably going to say that's similar to the picture in the piece anyway, right? It's like, great,
Yeah.
they've got
A
the
little bit, yeah.
attention.
They
Now,
intertwine.
yeah, exactly. And then the desire is essentially like similar to your, similar to the solution in Paster, I guess you'd say. It's
Hmm.
like, great, here's the attention, here's the interest and desire, and then the action again. So I love
Yeah.
that.
Me too.
Now, question here. Let's stick on social media for a sec. Now,
Mhm.
most platforms people listening to this will probably be Instagram and Facebook. In terms of the copy on those two, any difference, or can you pretty much, obviously the photo might change slightly between the two, but in terms of the actual copy, is it much the same, Instagram and Facebook?
They're pretty similar. The only thing and something that I do is because my business account doesn't have any friends or family on it, I can pretty much say anything however I want because that's how I want my brand to sound. This is me. I swear sometimes I'm a no bullshit kind of person, but if I were to post that on if I were to post that on Facebook, I don't think it's going to be received well by those. And I'm not trying to sell to like friends or family. That's not the point. Um, but sometimes the demographic or things are a little bit different. There's like older people, maybe they're just like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to her because she sounds kind of, vulgar, right? So I do change the language a little bit. I think that the best way to describe it is like the difference between Instagram and LinkedIn.
Mm,
Like LinkedIn is super professional, so I would definitely not
yeah.
write the same way that I do on Instagram. I would sell it a little bit differently. It's more professional. It's more towards like companies and things like that. So I would take the vulgar language out and the directness would kind of change a little bit, just depending on who's on that platform, right? And the goal of what I'm trying to do. So I know that obviously my Instagram is more of a younger audience. We're all in like our 20s, 30s, and we're all in like the same world in the online space. So everybody knows what my brand voice is. It's like pretty distinct. Sometimes I swear I'm very out there. I'm just like, I'm going to tell you straight up. I'm honest. I'm transparent, this and that. But yeah, the difference is, I mean, it just depends. Maybe your demographic might be different. But that's about it. On Instagram, you can only do so much in terms of text. And then Facebook, you can write like longer posts if you want. I would still keep it short anyway because our attention spans are the size of a goldfish these days. So, I mean, if you can keep people's attention, you're doing a good job. But I wouldn't personally suggest writing anything really long. But
Whenever I'm
yeah,
on Facebook, sometimes you click learn more and it opens up in like a new tab.
yeah,
Anytime in the new tab, I just close it. I don't care how good your AIDA is. If I can open up a new tab, I don't have time for that. So, okay, cool. Now from there, should we transition to say a sales page where it's like, great, someone's commented below or, they've gone the link in your bio or they've sent you a DM and you're like, great, here's the link to the program here. Any tips in regards to what we should write copy-wise on that sales page?
yeah. The sales page, and like again, I would say like use the Pastor formula because that's just
Yeah.
that's essentially what it is. It's like you kind of have to have like your headline, your subhead. Obviously, you have to present the problem first. Make sure people are aware that they have a problem, and
Mm,
then you have to just tell them, "I have a solution. This is why you should trust me. Here's my credibility. Here's my testimonials. These are all the benefits of why you should purchase this product." And a lot of the times I see people writing features,
mm,
but they don't write the benefits. So I always, with my clients, I say, okay, give me all the features of your product or your service, and then tell me why that's beneficial for them. Why do they need 24/7 Voxer access? Why do they need all like 50 modules in this course? What are they getting out of this? Because you can tell people how great it is and everything, but they don't really care about the features. They just want to know, is it going to get me 10K months? Is
mm.
this course going to get me to where I want to be or help me create something of my own, like passive income or whatever the case may be, right? So it's mostly focusing on the outcomes, like the destination, because that's what, like, people are selfish, right? We're all selfish people. We just care, what are we getting out of this? And then they're going to have to, so you have to justify like the value that you're going to give them. right before the end where you state the price and the investment. Sometimes people get scared when they see the investment. Oh, it's a $12,000 course. Oh God. But if you're doing a good job of selling it the entire time they're reading it, then the price is not going to matter at that point. They're going to buy. So it's a matter of just like, can you sell this course or this product or whatever it is, right? If you could do all the selling in the first half, they're probably going to buy at the end. But yeah, I would say like the headline's important here too. The subhead, all the body copy, using bulleted lists is super important as well, for readability, for quick, digestible, easy reading for people. I love bulleted lists. I use them a lot.
I hear all these, show me the bullets. Okay, what do I get?
Yeah.
Show me some testimonials. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's the important part of it, right? No one's gonna sit there and read like a novel.
You and
on your sales page. I'm not about that. I would never do that. And I even tell my clients, I'm like, that's great. You have like 5 massive paragraphs, but no one cares. I just have to tell you right now, we're going to have to cut this much. And then we're going to put this into bullet points. We're going to make these into headings. We're going to like separate it. The subheadings, I think, are probably like the most important part too. Because if those are really good, they separate all of the information for people, right? And you're just kind of like guiding them through a journey. So it's just so it's for easy reading. But I would say, yeah, like the bulleted lists are super important. Keeping the copy short and sweet is also very important as well. Just cutting out fluffy words too. Use power words like, there's like free and you. Oh yeah, using you more than we or I. And people are like, why can't I write I or we? I'm like, because it's not about you. It's about the person you're selling to. So if you could switch your sentences around to say you, your, it's going to really change the way you do copy. It truly is, because it has nothing to do with you. You can tell your story in your little bio section. You can talk about it like in the beginning and say, hey, I was where you were. I was feeling stuck, or I was stressed out with this and blah, 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 right? And look at me now, and I can help you get there by doing X, Y, Z. And that's the only time you should be using like a personal like pronoun, like I.
Wow, so much of information there. Let me summarize this, because you obviously are a rock star at it, right? You can just rattle that off.
I just keep talking and talking.
I'm sure there's people listening being like, whoa, hold on, where am I? Where am I doing? So
whoa, my apologies.
Let me break this down a little bit. So
yeah,
the thing that Kristen said, the first thing here is there's got to be aware of the problem. And I think that's a lot of a mistake that a lot of course creators make, where they don't necessarily know the problem. They know what their offer up. Yeah, hey, do this and you get, 52 modules and you get all these ebooks and you get weekly Zoom meetings, and yeah, that's fine. But what problem are you solving? So I think it's important to know that there, and there's always a problem. There's always a problem that someone's solving. So that's super important there. The feature benefit, which I think is really cool as well. And we can go many different ways on this, and then let's use that. So great, you get 52 modules. So what? You get a weekly Zoom call. So what? And for me, these things are actually a negative. I used to think, oh great, how can I throw as much things in as possible so I'm giving people more value? But now I think the opposite. I'm like, hold on, if you can do this for me in 1 month and someone else it's going to take 3 months, what the hell am I going to go to the 3-month person for? I'll pay you more money to get the job done in a month. And I learned this in my background in fitness, right? Because I realized nobody really cares if I'm going to give you 12 programs and 6 exercises for your biceps and 12 exercises for your triceps and 3 exercises for your abdomen. Who cares about it? Can you help me lose weight? Can you help me lose? How long can you help me lose 5 kilos?
Okay. It's just like, are we getting stronger, leaner? Am I going to have a bikini body by the end of this? Am I going to love myself in a dress for the summer? Like, that's all I care about. Am I going to feel confident? It's all about emotional stuff too. And I didn't even touch upon that, but a lot of what has to go on a sales page is emotion. If you can't tap into people's emotions, it's likely you're not going to sell the product or the service at all. And it's like, that's where the storytelling element comes into on sales pages, is like just tapping into those, like we were saying, like the pain points, right? What are their pain points, their pleasure points? What do they really want out of it? And if you know that stuff, their beliefs, their feelings, desires, it's it's easy to write the copy after that, because then you already know their situation, and then you can get them from A to B so much easier.
Yes, and that would be my tip to anyone listening or watching, where it's like, just get ridiculously obsessed with your client, because once you have that, then you're going to win, because you got two options. You're like, great, I know my client inside out, every single thing they know, every single thing they want, they don't want, their dreams and desires, I know that inside out. That's the hard part. The putting it to words is the easy part, really. And you've got two choices. It's either like, great, you know it inside out, pay someone like Kristen to write your copy, and you can just give her the brains up. She's probably got formulas anyway. Hey, what are the pain? What are the, what do they want? She's probably got formulas there. So it's like, great, you've got all that research. Pay someone like Kristen. She'll do it for you. You'll make sales. Or you can go and learn it yourself. Great. You just need to go and learn the paster and the 4Ps and the AIDA, and you can just go and plug it in. But if you don't have that background, you're gone. It's not, oh, I'll make the color blue so people will click it like Facebook, and I'll make this red. And look, that stuff has its place as well. I'm sure that's the 1% on top, right? But that's not going to make that's not going to make or break. That's going to go from, closing 20% to 25% or whatever it may be. So, yes. And then you mentioned the outcomes, Chris. And I think that's important as well. And it just, all this is related, where it's like, essentially there's a problem and you're going to help that person solve that problem to get this outcome here. That's essentially what you're doing in pretty much any business, but specifically an online course. There's something that you want to do that you can't do without me. Do this and you'll get this result here. But if we just wrote that on a sales page, you're not going to sell anything, right? You got to know that stuff and simplify it. And then it's like, how can we put it emotionally? And I like how you've brought the emotions. I like all sorts of selling, right? Selling from stage, phone selling, copy, everything. And a lot of actually every theme is pretty much similar, where people buy on emotion, justify with logic.
Oh, yes.
And I did, my background's in phone sales, and I used to find it crazy, where like I used to sell a course for personal trainers to help grow their fitness boot camp. Okay. My course cost $500, and that's roughly the price of a 12-week boot camp. You pay $40 a week for 12 weeks, right? So I'd get on the phone with people, I'd give them some tips, this and that. And I'm like, so how's that sound? They're like, yeah, awesome. I'm like, cool. So, hey, the course is $500. So as long as you make one client, you've made your money back, right? How many clients do you get from this? They're like, yeah, probably 5 or 10. I'm like, cool. You want to do the course? Oh, let me think about it and get back to you. And I'm like, what the hell? It doesn't make any sense. But then I realized it's not people don't buy on logic. That sounds like an absolute no-brainer, but it just doesn't work. And then when I studied more on, okay, cool, how can I influence? How can I use emotions? Then my close rate went through the roof. So that's another important tip as well. And it's funny because you only realize this as a seller, you think it should be logic, because to you it's common sense. It's like, hold on, you want to grow your fitness boot camp. I've got the answer. It's going to pay for itself with one client. Why would you not? But the buyer doesn't think like that. So it's important to get in their head. And I think the most important point you mentioned there, and this goes across all selling as well, is it has nothing to do with you. That's the one thing. If you're selling, and I learned this phone sales as well, where, and you, especially with personal trainers, because they're notably bad sellers, right? They'll ring someone up and, hey, do you want to do my program? It's a 12-week challenge and it's $50 a week and you get this program and this and this and this and this and this. You don't even know what the other person wants, so you're not going to make the sale there. So yes, there's one thing about selling, just get ridiculously obsessed with that person there and just make it about them. They don't care about you. They don't care what you've done. And I guess another way to put that is, how can I put this? So this is even if you haven't done it, right? Now we're going a bit off topic here, but I'll bring it back to make sense. Even if it's something that you haven't done, and let's use fitness because that's probably an easy one. All right. Let's say I'm a personal trainer and I'm out of shape and overweight. Okay. Now it may be common sense to be like, I would never go to that personal trainer who's out of shape. But let me put a spin on this. What if every single one of that trainer's clients got amazing results within 12 weeks? Right? Yeah. Does it matter what that person looks like? There could be a trainer that's in ridiculous shape, but none of their clients are still overweight. But there's another trainer that's in bad shape themselves, but they know how to teach and they know how to, help other people get their result, who would you go to?
I mean, like, obviously the person who looks better.
Oh, yeah, you would? I'd go the other way. I'd go the one.
I'm kidding. It's kind of weird when you use like that example, because it's like people typically like may not go with the person, even if their reviews are really good and they've helped people. It's like, why don't you look like that? It's kind of weird. But yeah, obviously, like, you'd go with the person if they have the testimonials, they have the proof and the results from people who've done their fitness program, right? So if it's really good, obviously people are going to go with the other people's opinions and what they were saying about the person, not the person themselves, right? So, I mean, even the bodybuilder who just looks like hot shit, he could have like no results at all.
Well,
nobody likes his program. He's maybe, not the nicest guy ever. I mean, he looks good on paper, but he's not doing anything. Like,
well, look, I think ideally you do want both, right? But if I had to pick one or the other, I'm picking the one with results. And the reason I learned that was when I used to watch a lot of professional sports, and I was like, hold on, half these coaches never even played at the top level. They're not necessarily good players; they're just good coaches. So I was like, that's what I learned that there. But yeah, bottom line there, it's not about you. Now, we're coming to the end here, Kristen. Can you give us some tips via email now? Doesn't have to be super long. Let's say someone's gone through this process. They follow you on social media. They've maybe opted into your free thing. They've gone on the sales page. They haven't bought then and then, but that's okay. Not everyone's going to buy it then and then. We've got an email address. It's obviously important that we follow up and do some email marketing. Any tips on that? And whether it's email marketing in general, or whether it's writing copy specifically for email marketing, what tips can you give us there?
Yeah, I would say even just starting with like the headline. So like the subject line, just make sure it's short and punchy. Make sure it's giving somebody value. So it makes them want to open the email, right? With my clients, I'll never make it like some ambiguous subject line. I always make it specific as to what they're going to get in the actual email. So that way they know what to expect and that it piques their interest, right? So it's like, for example, like I'll show you how to make 100K in like 30 days or whatever with X, Y, Z. And
can you send me that email? I'll read that email right now.
Right. Just for example, but I did actually see one like that recently in my inbox. And I was like, wow, well, that piqued my interest, right? Like, how often are people making $100,000 in 30 days? It's not common, so yeah, it's stuff like that. If you can, I kind of bring it back to like the 4 U's of headlines, and which I'm sure you know about. No? Oh, okay, yeah. So it's in Robert Bly's book. It's the 4 U's. So as long as your headline has a sense of urgency, so that's like FOMO. Yeah. So saying, the wait list closes in like 24 hours, better get it now. It's never going to be this price again. Like, just telling people it's never coming back. So make them want to open the email and buy from you. Has to be ultra specific, right? So to make sure that it has one goal with that email. And also to, of course, the headline, just make it about one thing. Don't mention like 5 different things, right? Unique. It has to be unique. So write something that people haven't really like heard before. I know that may be hard just because like a lot of people overlap with what they say and you may have heard the same thing before, but if you can try to make it as unique as possible, that's really important. And
I'll just jump in there for a sec, because I think that's super important, because I feel like in anything in life, that comes easy is not going to be that successful. Right. So obviously it's going to be harder to come up with something unique, but if you can do it, that's when you're going to get all the results. If you're just doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, you're not going to get ahead. So I love that you brought up that unique there. And sorry, last U?
Useful. So make sure that it's useful for the person, of course, right? Or else they're just not going to be that interested, right? And like we said with the sales page too, it's like, let's talk about the benefits. What's the benefit of me opening this email? What's inside and what's going to help me in here? So those are my like for use tip. Well, not mine, they're Robert Bly's, but they're very helpful and I use them. Your headline or subject line won't use all 4 of them at the same time, probably like 1 or 2. It'd be kind of weird if you had all 4. So usually 1 or 2 is
That's going to be
work.
100% open rate there, right? If you can hit all 4 of those.
I mean, that would be interesting, but it's not that long of a subject line. Yeah, another thing I would say, keep your emails short. A lot of the times people really want to just dive deep. They want to just write this entirely long story, and it's really not converting that well. Like I don't find that those emails have converted well for like my clients. I find the shorter they are and more specific they are, the better it is, right? So it's just kind of, hey, so-and-so, I hope you're having a great day. This is what I want to talk to you about. And I have this master class and we're going to do X, Y, Z, and you're going to get this and this with this bonus. Are you in? Boom, you're done. So if you can just make it short and sweet like that and to the point, that's so much better than having like some really long email you spend like hours and hours writing, and it's not going to open. People are just going to bounce out of it and they won't even read till the end to get to the CTA even. So I would say just make it shorter. And what else?
I'll even
Yeah.
so I agree with that 100% as well. One little trick I found is if there's something that I do want to make a bit longer, what I do is I give a brief in an email, but then I'm like, hey, I actually did a full video on this. Click below to learn the video.
Yes.
Video. So I'm not writing all that in the email. It's like,
Yeah.
these are there, and I'm selling the click basically. I'm selling the click to
Yes.
watch my video, and then you go to that landing page, which might have a 3 or 4 minute video, but then it's got my offer down below that video anyway. So it's like, okay, great. The people that are interested are going to watch this video. They click there. They'll probably, digest that quicker than words anyway, and there's still an offer there. So that's a little tip I found. If you do have something you want to get off your chest, instead of writing a 4-page letter on your email, keep that short.
Just video.
Yeah.
Just go on there and you're good.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And also like people too, I find that they want to add like more than one link. If you're going to add a link in your email, make sure it's just one link and not like 10, because if you do that, no one's going to open any of them. And you're going to direct people away from your email. They're not going to finish reading if it just caught their eye right there. So I would say just limit it to 1. If you really have to have 2, then I guess sometimes have 2, but just keep it to 1 link. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yes, I agree.
Those are some important ones.
I'm always a 1 link person. So, hey, Kristen, coming to the end of the podcast, we've already gone with your favorite books and that sort of thing. If anyone wants to, whoever's watching this, they're like, you know what, this woman knows her stuff. I want to follow her for copywriting tips. If I want someone to write my copy, I'm definitely going to Kristen. Where should people go? Your website, your Instagram? What's the best?
Well, my website and Instagram is the same. So it's www.copybykristen.ca, and same for Instagram, Copy by Kristen. And I am always posting educational content on there, especially for sales pages, because those are my favorite things to do. So I got lots of cool content on there that they can check out. And if anyone has questions, they can always send me a DM. I do free copy audits as well for people. So yeah.
Awesome. I follow Kristen on Instagram and I love following her, so I recommend do the same. On that note, I like to finish off, Kristen. I do a Instagram story and post it on my Instagram. So what we'll finish up with, if there's, we can do this a few different ways, but if there's one thing you want to leave my listeners with, where it's like, hey, if there's one thing you got to know about copy, it's blah, 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 blah. And if you can get it in 15 seconds or less, that'll be good, because I can just get it in one story. So we'll start.
So this entire time, but
all right. I'll ask the question and then you can answer it here.
Okay.
So, Kristen, if there's one thing you want my listeners to finish up with, or one copywriting tip that every single person needs to know, what would that be?
Stories sell. That's it. If you have a really good story, that is what's going to sell.
Yes, agree. And if someone wants to learn how to tell their story better or how to communicate it better, where should they learn, or who should they follow on Instagram?
Me, Copy by Kristen.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, that's pretty much all we've got time for. Anything you wanted to finish up with, or anything I should have asked you but forgot to?
I don't think so. I think we went through quite a bit actually, but
Like a full
essentially, yeah.
course, this podcast.
Sorry, yeah.
Almost like a full mini course doing this, listening to this podcast.
Sorry?
It's almost like doing a full course. Just listen to this podcast and you've done a course in copywriting.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We could just break this up and sell it for like $2,000 or something.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Kristen, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.